let's take a look at animating with CSS3 at keyframes. So what I've got here, I've got a div of ID playground, which has just got a border, background colour of pink, and a width and a height, and I've set this to position relative. And then I've got a div of ID ball here, which just draws this ball. So the border radius there is making it a circle, otherwise it would be a box. And if I make the border radius, you see half of the width and the height, gives me a perfect circle. I've made that position relative because I just want to nudge this down a little bit, so I can, as that is now, as the parent is relative, I can use position absolute in here. This is what I want to animate, you see, so I made it absolute, and that means I can do something like top 50 pixels to move that down. And if I spell position right, of course, there we go. And then we could move it from the left, so many pixels, like so. So in order to move this circle, I want to manipulate the left value here, so the position absolute is allowing me to do that. Okay, so position, talk about another movie. I'm more interested in the animation. So the trick I'm going to use here is what's known as at keyframes. So at keyframes is a at rule. There are other at rules that we'll have come across, such as at import for loading one style sheet, for loading style sheets in, at font face. So here's at keyframes. So what we're doing here is we'll create ourselves an animation. So we'll say at keyframes, and then you give it a name. So I'll call it my move, and we open up the curly braces. Now inside of here is we put the keyframes we want to make up our animation. So the one way you can work is with just a from and a to. So I could say from at the beginning we would have a left of 0. So I'll get rid of the initial left there. And then 2, that'll be the end of the animation, we'll have a left of, it's 500 wide, the ball's 100 wide, so 400 should tuck it smoothly to the other end. Okay, so that's my basic animation set up in an at rule. So the next thing I'll do is I'll need to tell the ball here to use that at rule and at keyframe. So I'll say animation name, my move. Nothing will happen just yet because I then need to give it a duration. Let's say 2 seconds. And off we go. Okay, so we get our initial movement. So there are other properties here with animation. So that was duration I've put in there. We have a delay. So if I wanted to delay it initially, 4 seconds. So it's going to take 4 seconds now. 1, 2, 3, 4, or thereabouts, and off it goes. Okay, so we can add a duration in, a delay in. I'll get rid of that. We can add a iteration in. So we could say animation, and we have iteration count. So it's iteration count. That's going to indicate how many times you want it to do it. So 4 should do it 4 times. I'm not editing anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it will stop. Notice it will stop at the end. Sorry, it will bounce back to the beginning here. That's because we can actually change that. So let's change it to just do it twice. Let's speed it up, shall we? And let's have it end as what's known as the fill mode. So if we say fill mode forwards, it'll finish up at the end there. Okay, just slow that down a bit. Let's just have it do that once so you can see that. So it does it the once and it will stop at the end there. Okay, right, so let's get rid of that for a second and show you something else that we could do. So currently it's just doing 2 seconds and it'll bounce back. So we might want it to go up and down. So from and to is literally shorthand for 0% and 100% of the animation. So I could make that 0%. I can make that 100%, but I can add in as many interim points if I want. So I'll put in a 50%, and let's make that left 400 and make that 0 there. So it's going to go 0, 400, 0, and you'll see that what we'll get now is it'll bounce. Now, if I bring the iteration back in, what I could do here is I could put in infinite. So now I'll just go backwards and forwards infinitely. Okay, we do have, like with CSS transition, we have timing functions so that you can do things like ease in, out, ease in, ease out. Linear is what it will be doing by default. So let's try a ease in, ease out. So this is a timing function to do with the amount of the value is changed over time. Give that kind of train easing into the station effect. There you go. So it's a lot more natural now in its movement. There's a shorthand for this as well, so you don't necessarily want to have to write all this kind of stuff every time. So I can just ditch that little lot, and I could say animation. And let's get the order right for these. So we've got the time, the timing function, the delay, the how many times it's going to do it. So let's have it take 3 seconds. Then we've got the we'll have an ease in, out. I'm not going to delay it. It's my move, and I want it to do it infinitely. So infinite. Right. So now hopefully I'll keep doing that infinitely. It's taking 3 seconds.